Greetings, salutations, and welcome. This is another video where I talk about my real-life anime city I'm trying to get built. I had a couple of comments. I put the question out there, what would you guys like to hear? And two people commented. One was in my Discord. Hopefully the link will be in the description below. The other one was in a comment in another video. Now, I'll discuss the two questions. But first, I'll tell you basically what they were. One question was talking about the pedestrian, car-centric side of things, where they were asking to go in a little bit more detail, I guess you could say, and how I would go about making things more pedestrian friendly as far as car centric. Now, the other question was one I hadn't thought about, and that was the one in the Discord where they asked to talk about the materials. And the example they gave was how in Japan they use a lot of wood because things are more earthquake prone in Japan, whereas we might be able to use modern day materials like concrete, metal, that kind of stuff. I'll explain that after the car centric one, or the pedestrian side of things, because I have a little bit more detail involving the materials. But I want to mention this. So, to the comment below, or the commenter from my previous video, I'm attempting to make things a little bit more car-centric, pedestrian friend. What am I thinking? Clear my brain here. Both car-centric and pedestrian friendly. If you notice, these are the major roads here. I'm going with sort of and I'll show another one, but I'm going with a square and hexagon shape. And I have walkways for pedestrians, sort of like a shortcut. These are the big businesses, touristy type areas. I got a better map that I'll show you, but this one shows the walkways here to make things easier. And these walkways do have, I'm hoping will have those like airport path things that are automatic. They're not escalators, but they're like escalators. You know what I'm talking about. Now, as far as I got quite a few things going here. Now, as far as the hexagon square thing, what am I talking about? First of all, hexagon's the best of gons, right? You know what I mean? You know what I mean. But what the hexagons do, rather than going in a grid, because these are the main roads, I decided on the main roads I wanted to give, rather than a 45 degree like a grid would, give it a little bit more of a degree turn. So if you're pulling, say, a trailer, flatbed trailer or a semi-truck, your right hand turns are a lot wider. So let's see, you're going from this direction, right? Got that way, left and right, and that's it. So the turns are a lot wider for you. You do have, say, if you're going to go right this way, but I mean, you can't have everything perfect, per se. Can't have your cake and eat it too. The inner side of the hexagons are going to be more pedestrian centric. This here is like a trolley system. These are the more anime, like residential anime based communities here. whereas the outside ones here, and I explained this all in a previous video, these are more the modern residential areas. But I am trying to make things more pedestrian centric on this part, whereas the more touristy areas, the dark blues, are going to be more car centric areas. This here is like the city center, that's why it's red, and I do have a change for that. As I go, I evolve my ideas to make them better and more efficient. Like, let's see, like you see here, originally I was going to do residential just straight, and garages straight, and just make this like a straight community. But then I saw a video on YouTube that made a lot of sense, and so I decided to change from this to this. These are just representing houses and garages. They're not actually going to look like this. It's just to get an idea of things. But get it focused. There we go. It's more U-shape, right? So this part here is the community area. It's like a big park or playground or garden, or insert whatever this community wants, is what this here is. So rather than having straight lines and just, you know, cutting smooth or cutting cookie cut houses and such, make things a little bit more interesting and create a community area. Another part of the pedestrian side of things is I'm trying to create wider space from the sidewalk. So this would be like a wheeled bicycle, skateboards, or insert whatever wheeled vehicle, man-powered wheeled things go here, right? So you're not feeling so closed in, and these sidewalks would be wider so that more people can walk on them with space. But this is also going to be the transition period from the pedestrian side of things to the material side of things. What am I talking about? I'm talking about using alternative material. I want to try and find a new way of doing things other than old school asphalt or pavement. I want to try more efficient, longer lasting stuff. Like, for example, this, I was thinking some corkboard material, right? The problem is you can't have, depending on the environment we're in, you can't have something that holds water. Because if we're in a cold environment, it'll hold water in and just become basically an ice block. So we got to be careful about what we use. And as a side note, a cool video I recently saw that I shared on some of my social medias was talking about using rainwater from the gutter to fuel the sprinklers and such. Sort of like using rainwater from the gutters for your sprinkler systems. That would be a really efficient thing to do. Now, some people might ask, well, what do you mean? Don't you know what we're talking about? Because or where it's going to be. I've had a few people ask me where I'm planning on doing this. The thing is that's difficult to say right now because I'm only myself. I need to have a community back, saying, hey, we got your back. And I want to try and get a nonprofit started first so we can officially start looking for things. I don't want to be, like, for example, I don't want to be in Alaska because people are going to want to people are going to want to cosplay, for example, right? Well, you don't really want to cosplay when it's freezing out. It's hard to wear things like latex over your face or something when it's freezing, or paint, or insert whatever material you're using for your cosplay stuff. This is the kind of city where I imagine somebody, rather than going to a bar for the weekend, they go, hey, let's go cosplay for the weekend at this nightclub, right? And it's more of a dance, like have fun. I don't know. I'm just throwing an idea out there, like back in electro swing type of groove. And we can't be in a desert because if it's too hot, we don't, like out in a desert, we don't have resources. We need to have access to water. You don't want to be sweating your butt off, so to speak, possibly even literally. We don't want to have a negative effect on the environment, like say, if there's an area where there's a lot of wildlife, we don't want to destroy the environment. So it's sort of one of those checks and balances, some people would say, or just balancing out the environment. I'm sort of getting, my brain gets scrambled and I have to reset sometimes, but you sort of get the idea. There's a reason why I haven't just said, let's do it here, because you also have to take into account the neighbors, the locals. You upset the locals, some bad stuff can happen, and it just makes you trying to do things even worse. That's another thing we also have to take into account. Now, I might live in rural Montana up on the family sawmill, but it doesn't mean that I'm stuck here. I can always move somewhere else if need be. I don't have the money to do it right now, but it doesn't mean that that's off the table. Like, I mean, got some pretty looking wood. This is some of the stuff I'm talking about, like for interiors to use as material. Some of the other material I was thinking of was recycling plastic, perhaps, maybe for siding, say. Concrete, I'm not a big fan of concrete, but I got thinking about it and I was like, put concrete in molding, got yourself a statue. People are going to want to have their statues of, like, say, All Might or Luffy or, you know, whoever, depending on where they're at and the district and such. So concrete's not necessarily out of the question. And everybody has their own thoughts on what they want to do. One of the things that I want to try and alleviate as far as the headaches on that part goes too is on the website, which I talked about in a previous video. I want to put a engineering software like OSHA compliant, for example, like the 18 bore stud spacing, such 18-inch stud spacing, things like that, where I guess the UI is what it would be called. I'm not very good with tech, but the UI would be similar to a game like The Sims, or insert some sort of building such game. If you play games, you sort of know what I'm talking about. But I want to make it fairly easy and simple. It would have the pricing up there so people know this is vague. This is pretty much what it's going to look like, what kind of materials it's going to be used. I want to try and go with local sources whenever possible, like for the wood, because you can get some pretty cool. Look at this wood. That's blued wood, blued pine, right? Trying to get it to. You can't really see it all that well. It's a lot better in person and a lot brighter. But, I mean, this is some beautiful wood. So, I mean, there's a lot of options as far as materials go. And I do want to try and make things a lot more efficient, especially when it comes to energy use. I want to try and find ways of improving people's lives to where they actually are happy again. But that's for a whole nother thing. Do you hear the drums of liberation? Feeling that heartbeat? Just messing. It's a song. It's a song from a artist that I listen to quite a lot. But this purpose of this movie, the conclusion to the video, was to answer those questions. And if any guys have any other questions, please go ahead and leave a comment, or go to my Discord. You can get me there as well. Again, I'll try and put a link in the description. And I'm not a big fan of trying to become rich and famous or anything like that. I'm just trying to get the ball rolling, get things going, right? So don't worry about the liking and subscribing if you don't want to, but the sharing part would be a big help. It'd really be appreciated if you shared. But you know, I hope you guys have a good morning, a good afternoon, and a good night, wherever you're at. Take care. Bye.